I'm John Shaw. Welcome to the DTO system, and in this video, we're going to look at how to switch the fight and flight response off, how to switch off your negative traumas, your triggers, your memories, your behaviors, and your attitudes so that your mind and body can heal and you can go back to being healthy and well again. So how does that work? How do we switch things off? Now, there's many techniques out there that change how we think and feel, and I've studied a lot of them. Tapping is very good. Matrix re-imprinting, theta healing, advanced clearing energetics. They're all very good, and there's a ton of them now. There's loads, and they're all very, very good. But with me, they didn't really resolve my issue, my depression. They didn't really fix it. Now, that was down to two problems. One was pinpointing the root cause, which was I've covered in the last video. And the other one was a simple way to switch things off. The other ways of doing it are a little bit more complex. You need to understand more about energy and healing and all of these things. And you really need to practice. And even tapping, which is super simple to do, requires actually quite a bit of understanding and knowledge to be able to apply it successfully. Whereas DTO really doesn't. You don't have to have lots of knowledge and experience to understand how to switch things off. In fact, the best example of that is that I often give this to people to do in like 10 minutes. I'll teach them how to do it, the basics. I might teach them how to switch memories off, or I might teach them how to switch a trigger off. And if they make a note of it, as a lot of people do, they really take it on board, and they'll go away and use it, and they'll start getting instant results with it, even without knowing where things come from or what the court route is. They're just clearing things in their system. So one lady, I think I mentioned another video. I can't remember, but she was at networking, and I was just teaching the group how to switch a trigger off. She made all these notes, went home, and she switched all of her triggers off to do with her grief. She knew she was grieving, and she switched off the triggers, the images that were bothering her. And she said, it changed my life. It completely got rid of my grief, completely changed her world because she was stuck. She's then gone on and given it to her friends and people she meets who are stuck. So she's taught them, even though she only learned it in 10 minutes from me, she's gone on and taught it, and they've got great results with it as well. It's just incredible because it's so simple to do. You don't really need to understand where things come from. You don't need to understand why you're feeling that way. In fact, you should never try and understand why you're feeling that way, and I have explained that in another video. You just need to go, right, oh, okay, I'm feeling like this, and then use DTO to switch it off. So how does that work? How do we switch things off? Well, I can only give you how I believe it's happening. I've never opened up anyone's brain to work out what's actually happening, because obviously that'd be creepy and weird, wouldn't it? Wouldn't do that. Although apparently they used to do it in the old days, but we're not going to go there. Okay, I'm not like that. So, so what do we do? What actually happens? Well, I want you to imagine that your brain is like a giant switchboard. Now, this is very simple to understand. A lot of people make the brain very complex, and the brain is not complex. It's super simple to understand. Your brain is like a giant switchboard. And if you are suffering grief, or you're suffering illness or pain or anxiety and depression, or you've got a relationship issue or money worry, or you're feeling overwhelmed or lack of confidence, or you're feeling disconnected, whatever it is, or you're alone or overwhelmed, whatever you're feeling, that you know you're feeling, there are switches on that aren't working for you. So there's switches on in your brain that are creating that feeling in you, that are causing you to feel that way, that are coming from your memories and your triggers. And all we do at DTO is we find the switch that's on. There's also switches that are off, like happiness, peace, love, joy. They're in there. They might be on in other areas of life, but in this particular situation you're dealing with, they're off. So all we do is we find the response, the memory, the trigger that's causing you to feel and think that way, and we flip the switch. DTO just flips the switch in the brain. So the negative one goes off and the positive one goes on. It's that simple. That's all we're doing in the brain. And it's not something I'm doing to you. I am walking you through the process. I'm guiding you to do it. You're doing it yourself. I'm just asking you a couple of questions and then guiding you to do the technique that does the flipping of the switch. It is really, really simple. And once you've learned to do it, you can do it yourself. You can ask yourself the two questions, because there are only two questions. And you can do the other two steps in the process, because there's only 4 steps in the switching off process. You're only doing 4 things, and you're always doing the same 4 things. So whether you're clearing a memory, or you're clearing a trigger, or you're clearing a behavior or an attitude, or you're clearing overwhelm or grief, or you're even clearing a sensation in the body, or you're clearing a feeling of pain or something like that, or a feeling of pressure in the body, whatever you're clearing, you're doing the same 4 steps to switch off your response about it. And the only thing that changes in those 4 steps is the thing you're working on, whether it's the emotion or the thought or the trigger or the memory. That's all that changes, but the 4 steps remain exactly the same. So it's super simple. Once you've learned the basics, you can do almost anything. You're only limited by your imagination. Now, if you want to learn an introduction to the DTO system, those 4 basic steps to start switching off memories, then you can go to the DTO Academy right now, dtoacademy.com, and sign up for free training in there. It's a free membership at the moment. And in there, there's 2 free trainings. I mentioned in the last video about the Decoding Illness and Disease program, which you can learn how illness and disease gets started. But you can also learn a 7-day introductory free training in the DTO system, and you start switching things off yourself. And that's actually what I give to my clients. When I work one-to-one with people, I teach them how to do that, and I teach them how to switch off triggers. And half of what I do is I clear the deep traumas and the memories in sessions, and they clear the triggers in between the weeks, in between the sessions, in the days between the sessions that we're doing it. So it's really important to understand how to do that. And you can start learning the DTO process right now for free, because I really want everyone to learn how to do this. I want everyone to learn how to switch off the negative thoughts and feelings that we're going through, because I truly believe, as I say so many times, that if we all had a simple way to change our thoughts and our feelings, the world would be a much happier place. We'd all be happier and more peaceful in ourselves. We'd all connect better to people. We'd all treat people better, and we'd all be healthier and happier and more successful in our lives. And I really believe that the thoughts and feelings, is the root to that. And DTO is very good at changing that very quickly. And 60% of people in the world would get better very quickly just by understanding the basics. Now, there's a 40% of people who need help because they need to understand that roadmap. They need to understand that route of where to look and where to go. And some things are very traumatic, and I wouldn't expect someone dealing with severe trauma to be able to switch it off themselves, because they need to have more experience to do that, because you can get stuck in that. So if you are experiencing severe trauma, please reach out and let me help you do that. Don't try and do that on your own. But if you're experiencing grief or arguments with your family or problems with your kids or problems with your partner, you can resolve that really easily. One of my clients who I worked with, and obviously I taught her the DTO system, she started a new relationship with a guy after we'd finished treatment. And she got triggered by him. He came in, he triggered her. And instead of reacting the way she normally would, oh, I'm going off on one, and she openly admitted that's what she used to do, she excused herself, went to the bathroom, spent 10 minutes doing DTO, came back out, and everything was fine. There was no problem. She realized there was no problem. It was just a trigger for her. It triggered off an old response from the past. And she could just see the truth and see clearly that it really wasn't a problem. So it's really useful for things like that. Other people have switched off their fear and nerves about going to gigs and performing. Other people have switched off their phobias. One of my clients switched off their phobia of sharks. Um, Other clients have switched off their UTIs, their urinary infections, during the 2020, during the lockdown era, depending on when you're watching this video, obviously. Um, 2 of my clients got UTIs. They knew how to do DTO, so I just told them what the conflict was, what the shock was, and they went and cleared it themselves, which is amazing. It's fantastic. And I love hearing about things like that when people do clear themselves. In fact, I was just messaged by a client recently. It's actually the mother of a client, and the mother has actually started using DTO and getting great results herself, which is even more incredible, because she just, it's just amazing. She saw the results her daughter got working with me, decided to learn it herself. She's gone on, learnt for the videos, and she's getting great results. She said she's already changing and she's feeling great. So DTO is very simple to learn and use, and it doesn't require you to understand why you feel that way or why you think that way. And so don't do that. Just think about, well, how do I feel, and switch it off. How do I feel about that situation? And use DTO to switch it off. And once you do that, you'll feel so much calmer, more peaceful, more happy. And it really is almost like magic. People who know how to do this, my colleagues who I've taught, we sit there sometimes and go, that's nuts, and that's crazy. How simple that is. Because often it really is simple. Now, of course, there is a percentage of people who are a little bit trickier to heal because they have sabotage running. So if you are trying basic DTO, but it's or any technique, but it's not working, it's because you've got sabotage running. And I'm going to cover sabotage in another video, but sabotage stops us all from healing. So no matter what we're trying to do, even if you're doing traditional medicine or whatever it is, or holistic, it's not working, then sabotage is in the way. In fact, if you're the type of person who's tried everything and spent a fortune, sabotage is in the way. And we need to get around the sabotage. And DTO can get around your sabotage. You just have to want to get around your sabotage. You have to be ready now to resolve that. But we're going to cover that in another video. So that was switching off, how we switch things off. Now, I know there's going to be like a million more questions in your brain, like how does that work? And is that really possible? And is it permanent? And does it come back? And all these things. But that's for another time, another video. Just basically in this video, understand your brain is a giant switchboard. And all we're doing with DTO is flipping switches in the brain so that instead of feeling angry, you feel positive. Instead of feeling down, you feel happy. Instead of suffering, you start getting healthy and well. And just one little point, I'm not switching off the real fight and flight response, the one that you need for when you're in danger. I'm only switching off the false fight and flight response. That's all we're doing. We're switching off the fake fight and flight response that you're in, but you're not actually in danger right now. And even if you was in danger in the past, you probably are not now, and that shouldn't be on right now. You need that switched off. So that's all we're doing. We're just switching off fight and flight and flipping switches in the brain. If you have any questions, then just reach out to me, Jonathan at the DTOsystem.com. If you'd like my help, you can book online at the DTO system, or you can give me a call or email me, and we'll arrange a chat and speak, and you can ask me any questions that you may have. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Until next time, stay healthy, stay happy, keep smiling, and I'll speak to you soon.